Hi everyone, I'm Noah, and in this video I'm going to be talking about how not to flop at golf. Look, I know that Gary Player said that you should be focusing 2/3 of your time on your short game, 1/3 on your long game, but if you go through that process, especially just starting out, then you might be limping just to get near the greens. I know that Gary Player is so good and I am average at best. However, undeniably, the last thing you want is to be on stroke 7 just being near the green. So that's why in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about mostly long game tips. That way, you'll at least have a fighting chance to avoid those chunks and trees. So let's get started. First off, clean your clubs. Shouldn't look like that, but like this. Of course, make sure to dry your club afterwards so as to minimize the third-party impact on your club as you're impacting the ball. I could go on and on about grips, alignment, tempo, but if you don't clean your clubs consistently, then you're not going to get consistent contact with the ball. So I would say just at least clean them at the start and end of your driving range practice, minimum. So clean your clubs. Next, you want to have a divot in front of the ball after you hit it. This is a nice way to check, like a sanity check or whatever, to see that you hit the ball first before the ground. Though making use of this is not going to ensure that you hit the most buttery, smooth like shot that you will do, it will make sure that you don't hit the ball fat, which is a definite no-no when golfing. I recommend to best ensure that you abide by this, that you use a tee. You put it in front of you, aligned like right here, aligned with your head as you're in your stance. And when you hit the ball, you'll see by aligning if the tee as a reference point is behind or in front of the divot. And based off of that, you could tell if you hit in front or behind the ball. Try it. Next, tempo. Aside from using the divot in front of the ball mechanism as a sanity check to see if you're hitting the ball effectively, you want to be making sure that the pace at which you hit the ball is relatively consistent. Think of it like this. If you just step up to a ball without any regard to the pace at which you swing, so say you do like 1 point, you do 1 second, 2.5 seconds, 4 seconds, the range in which you go through a full swing can be all over the place. That's not a good way to have a consistent shot. In these varying circumstances, you might thin the ball, hitting the ball way before you hit the ground or not even hit the ground at all. Or you might, from the other extreme, you might chunk the ball, i.e. hitting the ball fat. So you don't want to do any of those. Therefore, this is very important to keep in mind when making a golf swing. What I do is I have a practice routine whereby I do a couple of practice swings prior to setting up to the ball. More on that next. And I say during my practice routine as well as my actual swing, 1, 2, in that sort of pace in my head. Having a routine like this might not exactly translate into a better swing right away, but it will definitely make you more consistent as far as your shot. Remember, the golf course will always reflect how much you rush your swing. So next time you're about to make a swing, whether that be a practice or an actual swing, do not, and I mean do not, rush your swing. Lastly, have a practice routine. The reasoning behind this is how can you expect your golf shot to be consistent if you can't keep your mind consistent? I like to operate under the philosophy that the mind precedes the body. And so what I do is 2 practice swings, each one while saying in my head, 1, 2. And then I step back, look at my target, set up, and do my shots. Of course, it's needless to say that you do the actual swing with the same pace as the practice swing. For example, this is me at 2 angles. Now, your practice swing might, well, rather, practice routine might be different. The only thing that I would say is a must is making sure that it simulates your actual swing as much as possible. Now, I know what you were thinking. Keep in mind that trying to simulate the actual swing as much as possible in your practice routine, that if you try to basically go back and set up your aim every single time before doing your practice swing, then what may happen is, like, if you're teeing up with a group and all that, you might have people moaning in the background, which isn't exactly great. I, for instance, had my dad, after a round of golf, tell me that when people were watching, it took me about a minute for me to get through my stroke on my driver. So yeah, that was embarrassing. That is why I am not Gary Player, and why I only do that on my actual swing. If you have any questions but are scared to use the comment section, I mean, I was too starting off. You could just uh, send me questions via email, link in the description below. I would be happy to take your questions. Also, any applicable links will also be in the below description. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.